Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. The impeachment of the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, is a political process, is a constitutional process, and it is also a legal process. All the three in one basket. And while the charges were being read under the mover of the motion was trying to convince the members of parliament that Rigathi Gachagua deserves to be out of that office the soonest possible, there were several issues that came up. There was that question of the security of the speaker himself and the security of members of parliament who had signed the motion to take place. But there was even a bigger issue that became a thorn in the flesh in this process. And it is one that is really giving William Ruto some sort of problems. I know William Ruto has got the numbers in Parliament and by extension in the Senate. But there is this question of whether a person who has been elected by Kenyans in their millions can be impeached by some, few people, about 200 or 300 sitting in the National Assembly or the Senate. And it became a big question and a big concern because under the new constitution, the 2010 constitution, Rigathi Gachagua is the second deputy president under the new constitution, under this new dispensation. And this is the first time that members of parliament are attempting to impeach a deputy president. And so we are setting a precedent that we believe will be followed in the subsequent regimes. Rigathi Gachagua has insisted that Kenya is governed by the rule of law, and therefore it is not going to be easy. And the question that came up is, can you impeach a deputy president without subjecting it to public participation? Because Rigathi felt that people should be asked whether they want the deputy president out of the equation.
Naambia tu wajumbe tu wakuwe waangalifu, waulize hii wa Meru, hii wa Embu, hii wa Tharaka kama wanafurahia mtoto wao akiteswa, na kama wangependelea mtoto wao aibishwe, afukuzwe aende nyumbani. Lakini pia Kenya nchi ya sheria. Si rahisi. Si rahisi vile unafikiria. Ati utafukuza mtu amechaguliwa na watu milioni 7 ati mkutana watu 200 tu aende nyumbani namna hiyo. Hii ni nchi ya sheria na iko sheria Kenya ambayo inaheshimu demokrasia na inaheshimu uamuzi wa wananchi.
While saying this, Rigathi was convinced that if the people would be asked if this motion would be subjected to a referendum or a public participation, he's deeply convinced that Kenyans would tell members of parliament that it is not a priority to impeach the deputy president. And he's also very sure that if this gets to our courts, then the courts will rule in his favor. It is not only Rigathi Gachagua that is looking at this in a wider perspective. Yesterday, when this motion was being moved for the first time, the UDA chief whip, the Honorable Silvanus Osoro himself, stood and challenged, or rather, was seeking for the indulgence and the guidance of the National Speaker, Moses Wetangula, on the matter of public participation, and he reiterated the very concerns that this is the first time under the new dispensation that we are trying to impeach a public officer in the cadre of the deputy president, and he laid bare his concerns to the speaker.
Yes, Whip, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I also seek your guidance and indulgence on the notice of motion that has just been tabled here today, because we all agree that post-2010 Constitution, this is unprecedented. In as much as it happened years back, this is very new, post-2010 Constitution, and we will need a bit of some guidance. Ordinarily, Honorable Speaker, any motion that is brought before this House and that is of public interest goes through the entire process, including public participation, Honorable Speaker. I need to seek your guidance and indulgence on the place for public participation as far as this notice of motion is concerned. Because looking at the jurisprudence that has been made by the courts and the lower legislative arm, which is the county assemblies, on the impeachment of the governors and deputy governors, Honorable Speaker, you'll realize and notice that many impeached governors or their deputies challenge their impeachment based on the process of public participation, Honorable Speaker. This is unprecedented, and of course it's my view that to replicate the same, to what happens on the impeachment of governors and deputy governors, and they invoke the element of public participation across the country.
You've made your point.
Thank you, sir.
When you listen to Sylvanus Osoro, who is also a lawyer and a senior ranking member of the UDA party, you'll realize that his main concern is the fact that looking at the case studies that have ended in our courts, the question of public participation has always been there. And I remember even in the Finance Bill 2023, Finance Bill 2024, even with the other things like GMO and all that, the opponents of the UDA policies have always argued that there is a tendency within the UDA that the president unilaterally decides on matters that concern all Kenyans. And it has always ended up in the court, and sometimes the courts have pronounced themselves that when a matter concerns all Kenyans, public participation must be there. And Osoro was airing the frustrations, and I believe this is either something that they have discussed as a party, or Osoro, being a lawyer and a chief whip, decided to air this to the national speaker, Moses Wetangula. When Moses Wetangula retreated to give his judgment on the concerns, he also agreed with Sylvanus Osoro, and he said that the person in the cadre of the deputy president cannot be impeached easily without any public participation. And he ruled that it is going to be subjected to the members of the public to give their views so that people can understand whether Kenyans support the impeachment of the deputy president.
Honorable members, the second issue was on the conduct of public participation. In consideration of the special motion and the modalities of such an exercise, at the very outset, permit me to note that it would be absurd for any person to imagine that a motion such as the one present before the House may be concluded without the participation of the public. Honorable members, Article 1182 of the Constitution categorically enjoins Parliament to facilitate public participation and involvement in the legislative and other business of Parliament and its committees. My attention has also been drawn to various court decisions relating to the removal from office of state officers, including county governors. I'm indeed persuaded that the public participation is an integral element of the process of removal of an elected state officer from office. Having reiterated the centrality of public participation in the process, how then shall the public participate in the consideration of the special motion? Honorable members, in answering this question, the House Business Committee has addressed this issue during its meeting this afternoon and approved a program of public participation across the country to be coordinated from the 47 counties. The clerk shall communicate the full details of the program for the information of the public through print and electronic media advertisements to run from tomorrow, 2nd October 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you listen to the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, the National Speaker, Moses Wetangula, and Honorable Sylvanus Osoro, the UDA Chief Whip, you'll realize that all of them agree on one thing, that this is a case that has got a lot of weight. They also agree that this is the first time that we are doing this, and they also converge that this case might end up in court. And for Osoro to bring this in the floor of the National Assembly, and Moses Wetangula agrees with him, then it tells you that they are also fearful that if this thing gets to the courts of justice, they might be humiliated. What is your opinion if you are told to give your opinion on whether Rigathi Gachagua should be impeached? I have listened to many concerns, and Kenyans are saying that yes, we agree that Rigathi Gachagua is a man who manifested characters or qualities of a man who is a regional leader, rather than conducting himself in a manner to suggest that he's a national leader. But then they are also saying that actions speak louder than words. Yes, Rigathi Gachagua has pronounced himself as a man who wants to become a mouthpiece of Mount Kenya. But they're also saying that when you talk about tribalism, it is being practiced by the UDA regime. It is being practiced even by William Ruto himself. Because you look at the appointments, Kalenjins have been given the lion's share of positions in state offices. And therefore they're saying that there is no difference between what Rigathi Gachagua is talking about and what William Ruto is practicing. It is the same thing. Gashagua's main sin is to talk about it while it is being practiced. And they are saying that if Rigathi Gachagua has to go home, then both of them should go. And they are arguing that they were elected under one ticket. In fact, there are people who voted for William Ruto just because of the image of Rigathi Gachagua. There are people who went there because they felt this is our man. We always practice tribal politics, politics of ethnicity. A few years ago, just a few months ago, William Ruto was not accepted and was not welcomed in Luo Nyanza. They said William Ruto had killed them during the Azimio protests. You saw people being retrieved from their homes and houses in Kisumu, and they were killed. But today, William Ruto can land in Nyanza anytime, anyhow, because they seem to be working together with Raila Amolo Odinga. So when William Ruto gets to Nyanza, it is not because the Nyanza people love him. It is because Raila has said William Ruto is good. That is the kind of politics that we are playing. And many people feel that if Gachagua has to go home, what about the number of votes that William Ruto received courtesy of Rigathi Gachagua? If this thing is going to be subjected to public participation, William Ruto is going to be humiliated because many people are saying it is time for both of them to go home or none. Because we cannot sanitize one part of the presidency and we mudsling the other. These people are the same. If this matter gets to the courts must decide that this is the first attempt to impeach our deputy president, and therefore we must raise the bar that the accusations must meet the threshold as is envisaged in our constitution. Because as I said, it is a political process and politics is being played in parliament, both at the National Assembly and at the Senate. It is a constitutional mandate because there are provisions that must be met before we impeach a deputy president. But it is also a legal process, because when it gets there, I believe that the courts will look at the threshold, the accusations, and they will look at them with a fine-tooth comb, that they might even decide that the accusations don't meet the threshold. And this is worrying Mr. President and his team. And for Rigathi Gachagua, he so believes that the only saving grace would be our courts. I don't know what you think, but the bigger picture here is, if there is something that is worrying them, is this public participation. That is why they decided to allow people. I wonder whether they will accept the opinion of the people, because even in the Finance Bill 2023 and 2024, there was public participation and people gave their views unanimously, explicitly, that they were not ready for them, but they passed it. Parliament passed it. We are waiting to see what is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, but the view of many Kenyans is that either both or none.